Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to talk to two people engaged in an organization called Communities in Schools that is working to get our high school students on a good path. My guest is Lathaniel Kirts and Julian Jaquez. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now tell us just a little more background on Communities in Schools, why it was formed. It's a national organization, right?
Absolutely. So Community Schools is a national organization, but we have a local chapter here, which is Communities of Schools of Hampton Roads. We have about 16 schools, but we only have one school here on the peninsula, and that's at the Hampton High School.
The Hampton High School. I'd heard of the organization, but I didn't even realize you were operating locally, because you know me, I only focus on Hampton, and you guys haven't been here that long. What does the organization do?
And so I'm sorry to hear that this is the first time you heard about it, but we have this thing called we're the best kept secret in the Hampton Roads.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be that anymore. So thank you once again for having us on the show. But initially what we really do is we assess kids what we call the ABCs, which is attendance, behavior, and course performance. Course performance simply meaning grades. And so we track kids on all of those things, and we try to assist them in those areas to help them graduate and to achieve in life. So you are inside Hampton High School. You work there during the day when the students are there. You're there all the time. Absolutely. Every day from 8:20 to 3:09, and then sometimes afterwards after school for at least 90 minutes. That is different than a lot of organizations, you know, who come into a school or do after school events or programs. How do you guys have that unique in at the schools? Julian, I'm going to ask you this one.
Absolutely. So, first of all, it takes a lot of work. We have site coordinators that are designated inside the schools, and Lathaniel is a perfect example. But really, the main purpose of the site coordinators being there is really to support as best as they can with the students. So if the students are there early and they are very comfortable with Lathaniel, and that's who gets them through the day, then we want them to be there. But really, the focus for the site coordinators is to be present and visible and available for the students and their parents. So it's really the mission of our organization to make sure that they are really available and supporting wherever they can. And so really that's the purpose of why we have our site coordinators on site at the schools.
Well, and you guys have a unique relationship also in that you have permission to know this information about students, and that, you know, a lot of other organizations have challenges with that. So how do you work through the schools giving you that information? How do you know who to target?
So we have an understanding with the school that allows us to, the memorandum of understanding, the MOA, and so they allow us to get the information from the school. And not only that, we also have the consent forms from the parents as well that allow us to get the information. So that's key.
They get the parents' permission, and then they can give you that information.
Absolutely.
And, you know, parents want their kids to succeed. It, you know, should be easy most of the time. Yeah. So what do you do? I mean, how do you help kids?
Okay, so just being present is the most important thing, and being a listening ear. I think those two things are missing for most of our kids, and they definitely cherish those moments. So a lot of the days, if I'm getting there at 8 o'clock in the morning, my door is being knocked on immediately. And typically I have an open door policy. And sometimes it's just being there and just say, hey, how you doing? How's your day going? And sometimes that smile that they're putting up a facade, it turns into tears in a matter of moments. And they begin to share their stories or their pain or their trauma, and then trying to walk them through to getting them the help that they need, or getting the clothing that they need, the food that they need, and exposing them to good counseling and getting them the help within the school that they have, especially within their guidance department. So just being readily available to assist whatever comes to the door, and you never know what's going to come through.
Yeah, I think what's amazing though is to see the students begin in the beginning of the year where they are extremely shy, quiet, and roughly this time of the year, so right around the holidays, they've already learned everything they need to know about their site coordinator. They built that trust, and then at the end of the year, it's almost this sad approach of I don't want to leave for the summer because I won't have you. So
Yeah,
it's
how
amazing
hard.
to see really the impact and the determination that our site coordinators have to really support these students, not just academically, but also outside, which is amazing. So.
Okay, and I don't think I introduced at the beginning the distinction. You work on the board side.
Correct.
So you're more of a big picture overview, fundraising.
Fundraising,
Always
yes,
important.
wherever I could be of assistance. Really, again, a lot of my time is really spent supporting the site coordinators, spreading the message of CIS. Not many
Communities in
communities
schools.
in the
No
schools.
acronym plays here.
Yes, communities in schools. So a lot of my time is spent really spreading the message of communities in schools throughout the community. And again, just really being visible for them, trying to see who I can find or connect the site coordinators with, and ensure that really and truly everyone is just focused around providing support for the students. And wherever we can provide assistance, if there's anything that we can do, maybe there is someone that can help us with providing a solution for a student.
So both of you, I can tell you speak very passionately. Is there something in your background that has drawn you to this organization and to this work? And I'm going to ask Julian first because
Yes.
I know your story's long.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Camden, New Jersey, where the high school graduation rate is actually 54%, and that has increased
Ouch.
over the last few years.
That's an increase.
Absolutely. And for myself, I remember going to school every single day knowing that I had lights on and I had food being provided to me each and every day. And I just remember the guilt that I felt when I went off to high school and people dropped out or people didn't make it across the graduation line or on the stage or receive the diploma. And so for myself, when I moved to Hampton Roads, and I did a lot of work in southern New Jersey to really engage students and ensure that people were understanding the importance of giving back to the schools. When I moved to Hampton Roads, I was exposed to CIS communities in the schools. And for myself, I really enjoy, again, seeing the students at the beginning of the school year, really seeing that barrier that they come in with. I love hearing the stories about our site coordinators and really what they did to really re-engage a student, increase attendance, really help them outside and break out of the shell that they were once in. And so for myself, it brings me a lot of joy, a lot of hope, and a lot of truly appreciation for our site coordinators and the work that Communities in Schools is doing to know that we're really making a difference throughout the communities. We see the students at the graduation that are walking across that stage and receiving a diploma and who are super excited. Most of them go off to college. Some of them go into the military. Some of them go into the workforce. But they have a plan, but they wouldn't have had that plan had they not had someone caring for them
Well,
and
had they not
supporting
known
them.
they could, too. I mean, I think that a
Correct.
lot of kids by that age are just, they've lost hope.
Correct.
Now, you have an interesting story to tell, too, Lathaniel.
Well, yeah, so I'll try to make it brief. So pretty much coming from Norfolk and being exposed to some of the societal ills, I went off to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, came back, and after majoring in political science, I began working at the Norfolk Circuit Court. And it was at that time I began to see a lot more of those societal ills taking place within the criminal justice system. And so every time somebody gets ready to be sentenced, there's something called a pre-sentence report. And you can see everything that happened to somebody before they begin to get sentenced. So you can see their educational history, their sexual history trauma, the domestic violence, the poverty, and all of these things are what we call adverse childhood experiences, or what some people in the field call ACEs. And you begin to see that there's a litany of trauma that's happened to them before they got to that situation. And so what I decided to do was trying to find a way for me to get to those kids before they get into that school to prison pipeline. And so I've tried everything. I've been in the mental health field. I've been a therapeutic mentor. I even ran for school board in Richmond. I tried everything that I could. And the only way that I can really get to the kids that I feel like really is tangible is working here at Communities of School. It is being a site coordinator is one of the most fulfilling things that I can actually imagine, just getting in there and be able to touch an entire school at one time, having the tenacity and just the will to just develop different programs and just to see how lives are being changed day in and day out. And it's very fulfilling.
Now, tell me what you mean by school to prison pipeline, because I think there are some people out there who may not understand that.
Okay, so the school to prison pipeline simply means because you're born in a certain district, you're most likely to end up going to jail. And so for me, what that looks like is that there are certain schools that there are a lot of poverty, a lot of gang violence, a lot of drug issues that are happening in those areas. And because they're in those environments, those places tend to be over-policed, underfunded in terms of education. And because they're in those environments, then typically some people succumb to those environments.
And so it really doesn't mean the schools are leading them toward that. It just means that they kind of go from high school straight to prison, and there's no productive life in between.
Absolutely, and that's what we want to fight. We want to make sure that our schools are not dropout factories. We want to make sure that the education that they receive is not inside of the mass incarceration system, that there is something that's on the other side of walking across the stage. Once you have a diploma, what is your goals? What is your plans? How do you get to those places? And then we expose them to those things, and then hopefully they can walk it out. And we're there to support them throughout the entire process.
And the statistics are stunning, and I don't have them with me, but if you graduate from high school, you are a lot more likely to become a productive citizen, not on public aid, employed, contributing, involved member, than if you don't.
Absolutely. So that's definitely a public service I feel like that we're doing for the community.
Right.
Because now you don't have to worry about somebody not paying taxes. Now you don't have to worry about somebody living and going through the cycle of poverty that they've already been in. But now we're providing the tools so that they can pull themselves out, but allowing themselves to see what they have and the resources in the community to go and become better citizens.
And you're not a government program.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But you do need support.
Yes.
How can people support communities and schools?
Absolutely. So we please ask that if folks are interested, please visit our website, which is cis.hamptonroads.org. So we ask them to visit there. We have our great site coordinator here who's at Hampton High, who would love a phone call for anyone interested in getting involved. But really, it's if you see something that you like, or if you're interested in being a part of the organization, or you know someone who may be interested, please share the information, share that. We're always willing to share our message and really engage with folks and really create new partnerships.
So you are funded by donations?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Maybe grants? Do you get grants?
We do, every now and again, yes.
And when you think, okay, you're a banker.
Absolutely.
The cost of Lathaniel's salary and any supporting materials that you need. How many students at Hampton High?
We have 1,400 students at Hampton High.
How many are referred to you?
5% of the school's population. So that is 70 students.
So 70 students. One salary, 70 students. If you can get them all to that graduation point, to the point where they are job ready, college ready, productive citizens, you've saved a lot of money.
Yes.
Correct.
Because on that end, courts, prisons, public assistance, all those things are monstrously expensive.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's a great service.
Fantastic service. Absolutely.
So, do you have, I know you are new to the program.
Yes.
But without giving any details of students, which are obviously confidential, what kinds of things, what do they come to you with? What do you do? I know listening is key, but are there other things, programs or help that you can give? Okay,
so one of our pillars of our organization is a program called Troops for Teens. And so our Troops for Teens, we have about 30 Air Force Airmen from the Fort Eustis and Langley Air Force Base. And they come to our schools every other week to tutor, to mentor, and on one-on-one and on a group level. And so it allows kids from the entire school to take part in this process. And so we partner with our Air Force ROTC, and we allow them to go on field trips to the Air Force Base. We allow for them to get training on anger management, goal setting, those type of things in order to allow them to become better students and ultimately better citizens. And you can see how it affects not only the troops, but the students as well. And so it's all around just a great program for our kids.
That is good, and that also allows, and I'm going to stereotype here, but the troops tend to be a younger population.
Yes, absolutely.
And they can relate,
Yes.
Much more closely than, somebody like me to students in high school, to that age group.
Yes, and our troops are passionate, and I think that's the most important thing that we have.
You don't sign up for the military unless
I don't think you
are extremely caring, extremely passionate, and citizen and service driven.
Absolutely, and I think what's really cool about it is that they have a heart for service. But not only that, I challenge each and every one of my volunteers. I ask them, what is your reason why? Out of all the reasons why you can be out here and helping out kids and helping out at-risk kids at that, why are you doing it? And I'm telling you, I hear some of the best stories. I hear some of their true hearts for why they want to serve. And when they get into those rooms with 20 kids who've had a long day already from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and now they're ready to go home, but they're coming after school to just sit there with a troop and just to pour their hearts out or hear somebody else's story. It's so rewarding.
And it shows high school students a path.
Yes.
And the path through the military is a wonderful either first job out of college, ROTC. I mean,
Absolutely.
all those things. It is a great career that they can be prepared for, unless they're derailed. If you're in the court system, if you have a record, if you don't get people soon enough. I mean, the military has a hard time recruiting now to some extent because everybody coming out of high school, more and more people have issues. And of course, there's medical issues and other things that prevent people from serving in the military. But
and last year we had I happened to volunteer at a school, and I was with the site coordinator, and we had a student who actually approached, and she was in tears. And she went to the site coordinator and specifically said, "Hey, I would like to speak to you." And so the site coordinator walked away, and they sat down into a classroom. And when she came out, immediately we went into activation mode, which was trying to provide a solution for this student. And what she said was she didn't have a bed to sleep on, and she had just been really tired from trying to find a place to stay comfortably. And it was truly amazing to see how quickly the site coordinator got on the phone, leveraged her resources and her connections to really provide that bed for the student. So that's just one example of really how CIS, or Communities in the Schools, is not just in the school and focused around making sure that they are getting everything they need to be academically successful. But again, that's a perfect example of how these site coordinators are really helping these students in ways that they may not be comfortable doing with a teacher or a peer or that guidance counselor that's maybe in the school as well.
So it is, I mean, you might say you mostly listen, but listening is the first piece.
Yes.
And then helping people.
Correct.
Because if you've had a history, a childhood of, maybe not enough to eat and violence in the family or drug addiction or alcoholism in the family or all the different things, being around violence, even if your family is somewhat stable, if you're in a neighborhood where violence is occurring, all those things, how do you how do you get kids to be resilient and to overcome those barriers?
You just have to show them that you believe in them and that you see a path for their success. And even if they don't see it, and just shining the light on some of I think there's so much negativity in the world that when you can show them a little light of positivity and say, hey, I see something special in you. I see that you have this gift. I see that you have this talent. But now how can we put this into action? And then we give them assessments and show them, here's a plan of action and what you can do. Here's some of the jobs and the careers that you could walk into. And so just being able to, have the resources available. And I love what you just shared in terms of what we do for our kids, because I literally had a situation where a kid gave me a text message and said, hey, I have a friend who is getting ready to make a very bad decision because he does not have the right clothes to wear. He's wearing the same clothes every single day, and he is getting ready to do something that is illegal. And because of that notification, I was able to pull the kid to the side, find out what the issues were in the home, and then be able to solicit donations from the community in order to provide adequate clothing so that he doesn't make the bad decisions. Now, the confidence has risen. Now, his attendance has gone up. His behaviors have improved, and his grades has ultimately improved. That's one less kid that's in the school to prison pipeline. Mm-hmm. That's one less kid that's dropped out, and that's one less kid that's not going across the graduation stage. That in itself is one of those success stories that we're able to see.
And that's so important too, because I'm going to cite a statistic without the source, but there's been a lot of work on resilience and what makes one person who has an adverse child experience,
yes,
and another different. And one of the key differences, an adult who believes, an adult who has an influence, an outside adult. I mean, sometimes it can be a parent or a grandparent, but often it needs to be an outside supporting adult, whether it's a coach or whatever, makes a huge difference in success, in the ability to deal with the trauma.
Absolutely, and I think it's important too to remember when we were at that age, 14 to 18 years old. I don't think mom and dad was were our favorite people in the world. It was really the person who took the time to say, hello, good morning, how's your day going, how was your weekend? That's who we felt comfortable and really okay with sharing what was going on, to take the conversation into a direction that we wouldn't have had with just my biology teacher who's asked me, how was my weekend? Good. I didn't do my homework. Don't look at me. If you have an adult who actually cares and they're there and they want to help.
And doesn't have another agenda.
Exactly. And they're there for you, you're going to be extremely comfortable sharing what's going on and get that help that you need, or maybe that simple confidence or that confidence booster, like a simple thing like a hug.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that I think are so important too to understand. That a lot of people, we kind of walk into schools and we do a lot with volunteering, and we see the participants who are there, and we're there in service, and we're so focused on it, but we don't take a moment to walk up to the student and say, hey, how's your day going? What do you want to do?
Right.
And have those conversations. And that's what I really love, that our site coordinators and all of our volunteers who get to come out and support the students are really having those conversations with the students that we're able to get in front of.
It's wonderful. Yep. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for what you do. Is there anything you want to add before we close? Because honestly, this is a topic I'm passionate about, and I could talk all day, but we do have a time limit.
Do you have anything to share?
I don't.
Well, like I said, I'm just very passionate, and I'm just gracious for the opportunity to work for community schools and to be in Hampton High School. I'd like to thank our principal just for making that available and this program available. We're looking to expand.
I was going to add, that was going to be my last question for Julian. How do we get you in more high schools in Hampton?
Well, I would say let's continue to spread the message. We have the stories to showcase really all that we're capable of doing. So just the more people who can continue to share our story, and principals who are interested, please reach out. And we would love to be at more schools. But of course, we need the funding as well to correlate and be able to offer a coordinator there full time. So. And
again, that is money well spent, because it saves much more money in the long term. I think that's hard for people to see sometimes. They see, we want to spend the money on police, we want to spend the money on prisons, and the state funds, the state funds the court system and the prisons, but they don't fund much of the prevention side. And so it is this upfront cost that pays off, but people can't always see those results, especially immediately. Well, thank you both. Thank you for the work you
Thank
do.
you so much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming to share your stories.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you, as I have, learned a lot about a great organization that is working at this time in one school, but we're hoping that they'll expand in Hampton and throughout the rest of Hampton Roads. And if you can support them, please go to their website, learn more, give what you can. This is a great nonprofit. Thank you.